I want to talk about this Jack Morris situation. Jack Morris, of course, a broadcaster for the Detroit Tigers on Bally Sports Detroit, the Hall of Famer. He pitched for the Tigers for 12, 13 years. Also was a big stud postseason pitcher with the Minnesota Twins. And he was trying to be funny, I guess. I just don't understand why guys keep doing this to themselves, Andy. But he was suspended indefinitely for his racist comment when Shohei Ohtani was about to come up. Let's take a listen. I think we have the sound. Let's take a listen to what he said last night on the broadcast.
Now what do you do with Shohei Ohtani?
Be very, very careful. Well, folks, Shohei Ohtani has come to the plate, and it's been brought to my attention, and I sincerely apologize if I offended anybody, especially anybody in the Asian community, for what I said about pitching and being careful to Shohei Ohtani. I did not intend for any offensive thing, and I apologize if I did. Certainly respect and have the utmost respect for this guy. Don't blame a pitcher for walking.
Wow. It was offensive. He was acting or giving a Japanese or Asian person, right, trying to be like funny. So he did that voice. And, of course, shame on all the people who ran to his defense, Andy. And the first thing they said was, he was imitating Elmer Fudd. And I was like, Elmer Fudd?
No way.
First of all, Elmer Fudd doesn't even say that, okay? Elmer Fudd says, be very, very quiet. I'm hunting rabbits. Okay, so he doesn't say that. Be very careful. Has nothing to, what Elmer Fudd, and it happened with Shohei Ohtani coming up, and you know, Andy, when you heard it, what did you think? I'd love to hear your take.
I shook my head and I say, why? Why would you do that? Why would you go there? And after so many things have happened, and in Cincinnati, we're almost at the anniversary here of a year ago when Tom Brenneman said something that was very detrimental, and he got the axe. He did, and it was quick. It really was. And his wasn't even on the broadcast. It was like
it was a hot mic,
right? And it's just crazy. And look, I'm not saying good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not saying that maybe this cancel culture is crazy. You can't do that. You can't insult people. You just don't do things like that. And you don't come back and say, if I insulted you. Well, you did. Well, you did insult them, you know. Don't give it if I insult. Well, you know you did, and you know you were wrong. But the point is that are you that stupid after you've seen so many people go down the tubes in flames after doing that? You went ahead and did it. But my question is this. Will he come back? He's a favorite son in Detroit, Jack Morris is, and he says he's suspended. Now, with Tom Brenneman, he was, boom, out, you're out of here. Fox Sports did it on football, he's gone. The Cincinnati Reds with Bally Sports, he's gone, and it doesn't look like he's coming back. Now, will Jack Morris come back? Because is there a stringent rule for each guy, or everybody gets their own deal? I mean, it's like if I rob a bank in Minnesota, is it same as robbing a bank in New York? Do I get a week in jail in Minnesota or 30 years in jail in New York? I mean, it's got to be the same for everybody, right?
But it's not. Don't you remember Bob Brenly made a joke about Marcus Stroman's do-rag that he was wearing? Do you remember that, Andy?
Yes.
And he said, oh, that looks like the do-rag Tom Seaver used to wear, right? Which is basically he was making fun of something that black people wear for their hair. And he had to get sensitivity treatment. They claim that he stepped aside, even though, you know what I mean, they didn't want to embarrass him. And I think he's coming back or came back to the broadcast. It's different for different people. And Tom Brenneman, when you say it, it wasn't on the broadcast. It was a hot mic. And his dad is a legend, a Hall of Fame broadcaster, and a Cincinnati icon. I know Tom and Marty from my time there, and both of those guys were great guys to me. But you can't do it, Andy. Tom knows it. Marty even said it after
I will say this. Jack Morris.
He knew that you can't do it.
Right. Jack Morris would have been better off dropping the F-bomb than what he said. Really. They may have forgiven him for that. Maybe. I don't know. But at least when you say something like that, you're not offending a group of people. You know, people are not happy to hear that, but at least that you maybe could squirm out of that one.
Yeah. I just help me with this, Andy. I think, you know, you said to yourself, why would you go there? Why would you do it? You've seen the landmines. You've seen all the people who keep losing their gigs. And, Andy, you would think common sense. Stay off the jokes. Stay off the ethnic stuff. Stay off the racist humor. Just stop it.
When in doubt, don't say it.
Exactly.
When in doubt, don't say it. And you know what? Stay away from religion and politics. Then you're safe.
But here's the problem, I think. I think they can't help themselves. I really don't, because if you could, Andy, you wouldn't do it. I think they can't help themselves. They think they're funny, and they don't understand that the world has changed.
I don't know if they think they're funny, but I think that they have such cachet that they can get away with it. Like, it's one of those deals when you get stopped by a cop and you're an athlete. Do you know who I am? Deal.
Right.
Do you know
Remember Tony La Russa said that, right?
Yeah. Do you know who I am? No, I don't. I really don't. So Jack Morris feels like, well, I could do it. I'm a god in Detroit, and I could say it because I think I don't think it slipped out. I think he did it, and he didn't think anything was going to happen.
Did he really? I mean, we're in a world, and I know you brought up cancel culture. All right. And people always run to that as no matter what happens. But Andy, I don't subscribe to that. And what I'm talking about, if someone is offensive to me or my people or people I care about, I'm not going to support them. So you could say cancel. I'm not. If a store or a person, I'm not going to watch your movies. I'm not going to buy your tickets. I'm not. And I think that that's fair game when it's my money and I get to determine how I want to spend it. Why would I spend money on something that treats me or my people in a negative way, right? And that's what it comes down to. So when people always, here we go, now they're going to cancel them. No. You got to be careful when you represent an organization or a company, right? Andy, you represent Fox Sports Radio every day because you work on these airways, right? So do I. I can't go into a sports bar at 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm not on Fox Sports Radio and throw out anti-Semitic comments, can I? No.
And I can't walk into a sports bar and I wouldn't wear a Schwarzenegger T-shirt.
Exactly. Really. Not ever. This is the point.
But the funny thing is that now when someone says something like that, you have the thought process that maybe these guys are racist in an end. You know what I'm saying? Like now you have a different look and a different view towards Jack Morris. If he hates Asians, he may hate blacks. He may hate Jews.
Right.
He may hate everybody. He may just be one of those guys. Really?
No, and that's what happens when that stuff comes out of your mouth, because people look at it, and this is a different world. I mean, I'm saying this, and some people might laugh, but they took Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima off the food boxes, Andy. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
Seriously.
Yes, right.
We all ate from those boxes forever, Andy, right? And accepted it. We don't accept that stuff anymore.
Because it's a stereotype.
Exactly.
And now Jack Morris is stereotyped.
Right, and what he did to Shohei Ohtani, who's one of the greatest players in the game today, did he deserve that? Why him? Why did he deserve that? What did he do? You know why he got it? Because he's Asian. That's why he got it.
Exactly.
He wouldn't make that voice if it was Miguel Cabrera at the plate, right?
Think about this. Where would Don Rickles be today? He wouldn't have a career, would he?
No, he wouldn't. Guys like that wouldn't be around. But things have changed, and I'm sorry. I think companies have a right to put people who represent them. And I'm going to give you a story, Andy. You might remember this. And do you remember Anita Bryant was the representative for Tropicana orange juice? Do you remember that?
No.
Anita Bryant. This is in the 70s. Everybody says everything's now politically correct and cancel culture. And she gave a speech in public denouncing gay people. And Tropicana dropped her. And they want to sell orange juice to everybody, right? They don't want anybody to not want to buy orange juice because of and people were like, well, she was on her own time. No.
Right.
When you work for other people, you represent them all the time. There's no off time.
Well,
so when Jack Morris said that wasn't Jack Morris in his backyard talking to his uncle and cousins. That was Jack Morris representing Bally Sports Detroit, the Detroit Tigers, all the players, right, and the people of Detroit watching the game.
You mentioned when you work for someone, and I agree with you, but let's go one step further, and you were involved with this when you were in Cincinnati. What happens when the owner of the team, Marge Schott, has the same feelings? And when she called Eric Davis her $1 million N-word. Really?
Right.
And she's the owner. Okay? It's not someone who works for someone and represents the organization. She is the face, or was the face of the organization.
And it cost her her team, just like it cost Donald Sterling his team. He was forced. God knows he made out because he sold the team for $2 billion. But he was forced. And remember, that was a private conversation that was taped, Andy, that went public. So Jack Morris made a huge mistake. He's indefinitely suspended by Bally Sports Detroit. I don't believe he'll be back the rest of this season. And depending on his contract status, Andy, you know how this works. If you're in the last year of a contract, it's easy for them to let you go.
Right.
And if you got 2 or 3 years guaranteed and they got to pay you, they might try to massage your image and try to bring you back because they don't want to give you all that money. But if they get enough hate mail, right, they'll just have to eat the contract.
You're right, and they'll say he went to training, but
right.
I don't know. I don't know what training does. If that's embedded in you, that you feel that way, and it's the first thing that comes out of your mouth when you see someone who doesn't look like you, that's not good.